What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Run Your Race with my boy, AJ Richardson. And today, we got a very special guest. We got family. We got a UNC great, UNC legend, UNC champion, 12-year NBA vet, George Lynch. And as you guys know, we are sponsored by DraftKings. Y'all go to DraftKings right now, download the app, and make sure you use promo code RACE. All right, now let's get to the episode. What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Run Your Race with my boy, AJ Richardson, who is not here today. He's here, but he's working. But we both working right now. But, people, we got a special guest here today. Y'all know how I feel when we got fellow Tar Heels on the pod. Y'all know it's going to go crazy. And you know these are my favorite right here. But we got a legend. We got a legend on the pod today. We got my guy, the OG, George Lynch.
What's up, man? Appreciate the love, man.
Listen, saw you on the plane yesterday. I was like, look, George, would you mind getting on the pod? He was like, no problem.
Anytime.
That's Carolina family.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And it's just a different way. You were old school. You went through it with Dean Smith.
Yeah.
You played for a legend. And who else we had? We haven't had nobody that played for Dean. Nah.
Who did Bryant play for?
He played for
Guthridge.
Yeah, he played for Guthridge. Yeah. So this is our first one. Hey, look, we got to hit the stories.
Anytime, man.
We got to hit the stories.
Yeah.
So what we do here on Run Your Race, we like to just talk about the different ways you can get to the level you want to get to. Mm-hmm. And everybody doesn't have the same path. Everybody runs a different race. And we like to talk about that and give people life, because somebody might be going exactly what you went through when you were younger to get to Carolina, to make it to the NBA and stuff like that. And we want to give them the pathway and hear from somebody who's done it, how to get there. And I'm sure, and I know you got a great story, so we want to hear about it. So let's get right into it. George, where you from and how'd you get started playing basketball?
I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, small town, western part of Virginia. Not too far, probably an hour from Virginia Tech.
Okay.
I got started playing. My stepfather, when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, used to take me to the gym on Sundays. And I was a little youngster, used to just sit in the gym and dribble a ball because I couldn't make a 10-foot basket at the rec. And then right towards the end, the last game, he would always let me play with the older guys. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got introduced to the game through my stepfather.
Did you play any other sport?
Man, I gave them all a try. You know, back when I was coming up, you know, whenever it was football season, you play football. Whenever it was basketball. I even tried baseball and soccer, man, but
really
couldn't hang with soccer because it was always during the winter sport time.
Yeah.
And then baseball is a crazy story. My uncle had a baseball team, and I'm standing at the plate, and I got hit with a baseball.
That's it.
And I was done.
That's it. That'll do it. That would do it for me.
I was done.
That's the reason I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can take getting hit by, I guess at that age, 70 mile, 60 mile per hour.
Yeah.
Mile per hour fastball.
And the way I grew up, if someone hits you, you hit them back.
Yes. For sure. I got to see you at the mound.
And I had a bat in my hand, so I was like, man, I can't play this sport.
Yeah, I got to see you at that point.
Yeah, and then young kids, you know, they can't control the baseball.
Yeah.
So I was done.
I'm done with that.
Yeah.
So when did you figure out basketball was it for you?
It was right around the 9th grade, going into my sophomore year. I was playing football and basketball. Mm. And at the time, as a freshman, you're still in middle school.
Yeah.
And I might have been 6'3". Mm-hmm. I was playing quarterback on the football team, and basketball, I was 15, and I was probably dripping wet, man. I might have been 160 pounds. And I was like, I knew then going into high school, I wasn't going to have a long career. Mm-hmm. You know, being a tall, skinny kid who, you know, couldn't put on weight. And I just chose basketball. The other reason I chose basketball because my AAU team, we had a good AAU team coming out of Virginia. You know, now these kids, you come from everywhere and you can play. We had a city team, and my city team, we had probably 6 guys off that city team at 15 that all played D1 basketball.
15?
At 15. When they went on to college, great story. And then we all played the same AAU team. We all played on the same high school team.
So y'all ran Virginia.
Yeah, we ran it. We beat Boo Williams. We beat everybody at 15.
And then
15, 16, 17. Yeah. We had the top AAU team in Virginia.
That's so unheard of now.
Yeah.
Kids staying together and just playing together their whole high school career. There's only one, I think Columbus does that with the Boozer brothers. Like they kind of kept that group together. But other than that, you know, kids be hopping all over the place.
Yeah, they changed the rules by state borders. You can just jump across the state and play with another team.
That shit crazy. But let me ask you this. When you started, when was it for you that you kind of realized, I am going to be very good at this?
You know, man, I was a humble kid, and we had a good team. So being one of the younger kids on the team by a year, and I was holding my own, and people would pat you on your back. People in the neighborhood said, "Man, you're gonna be all right." But I didn't let it go to my head, or I didn't think anything of it. And then my sophomore year, I was telling myself I should be starting on the varsity basketball team, but I was coming off the bench. I was like 6 man.
Yep.
I had seniors in front of me, and then the following year, my junior year, where I was on the court with 4 seniors, and that's kind of when I knew that between that AAU and my, because I started getting invited to 5-star camp. 5-star was big.
That'll do it. Yep.
And then I got invited to the Nike All-American camp in Princeton. And that's when the recruiting started. And I kind of knew then, but I wasn't sure, because everybody said, I had all my uncles played basketball. My uncle went to St. Aul in Raleigh. One of my uncles played at Texas Southern of HBCU. And so they were always, man, I think you got a chance of doing something. You got a chance of doing something. And, you hear the noise, but you didn't know, because you read the clippings. Being from a small town, everybody else was in the USA Today. That's when USA Today was big.
Yep.
And I was probably 300.
Damn.
And I was highlighting. I'm a mark. I want to play against all these guys. So my first year at 5-star, I went to Radford, and Lonzo Mourning was there, Milton Bell, Kenny Anderson. Who else was a class ahead of me? Bryant Stiff. It was some dogs.
Some guys you needed to see.
Yeah, and I played in the All-Star. I got invited to the All-Star game. I thought I should have had MVP. No, seriously.
No, I feel you.
Because I had like 20 and, I could rebound.
Yeah.
So I had like 20 and 15. And Garfinkel came to me. He was like, look, come back next year, you'll get MVP.
Political.
That's when I found out. That's when I learned it was political. I was like, no, because Lonzo was in the game. Lonzo got MVP.
You know why he got MVP.
Right.
Yeah.
And and this was before I had committed to North Carolina and things like that. So I didn't have any. So he was already committed to Georgetown, and I was
had the hype.
Man, he had the hype. So
all he had to do was play okay. It was his MVP.
Yeah. So no one knew who I was. So I slid under the radar. Had a great camp All-Star game, and then they said come back next year.
So you would say when you got to that 5-star, you got into the All-Star game. That's when you took off.
Yeah, I would say that's when I was getting recognized, because then they invited me to Robert Morris. And back then you was a waiter.
Yeah.
So I was a waiter, and and then now you on the map, and and it just took off from there. And then my high school year, my junior year, we won the state championship.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Alonzo Mourning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went through a lot of cats, man. We played in the Arby's Classic. Did you ever play in that in Tennessee?
No.
So the Arby's Classic in Tennessee and Bristol was a big tournament. We had the year that we played in it and won it, which was my junior year. We played 5 games. And all 5 games, the teams that we beat won the state in their class or in the state that they were in.
That shows y'all were truly dominant.
Right. It was Terry Kirby's team out of Tidewater, Virginia. He played both football and basketball for the Dolphins. Went to Virginia. Bryant Stiff's team was in it. We beat them. There was a kid out of Tennessee, Orlando Lightfoot. We beat them. We beat there was a kid, Griffin, that went to Kansas. I think his name was Darren Griffin. They out of Georgia. They won the state. We beat them. And we had an unbelievable high school team, man. We probably had, for the small town, we in USA Today, we was ranked number 5 in the country.
That's crazy.
Just local kids.
Because nowadays it's always the prep schools.
Right.
And public schools don't really get that much recognition because everyone's not staying there.
Exactly.
How much would you say you playing older guys and playing up helped you throughout your whole get ready for college, get ready for the NBA? Because that's what I did.
Right.
Like doing that, I don't know how much better I would have gotten if I played my age group.
Yeah, it wasn't reclassing back then. It was like, okay, if you that dog, you're gonna play up. So I had a funny story. When I was about 13 or 14, you know, living in the neighborhood, I came home and my stepdad, he kind of knew that something was wrong. He was like, "What's wrong?" So I was at the park playing with older guys. And he was like, so I was telling him what was going on. I said, when I'm at the park, you know, when you young, older guys ain't gonna pass you the ball. They gonna shoot it. I'm like a 8th grader. They high school seniors and juniors. And they wouldn't pass you the ball. So I was like, he was like, hold on, don't come. You know, back then parents had tough love. You get beat up and you don't fight, they can be like, you better go back out there and fight. You know what I'm saying? So I came back and I was telling him what was going on at the park. I said, the older guys won't pass me the ball. And he was like, hold on. He said, can you play defense? I was like, yes, sir. He was like, can you rebound? I said, yes, sir. He said, can you dribble? I was like, yes, sir. And he was a military guy, so I had to, that's why I had to answer him. Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Then he was like, can you shoot the ball? I was like, yes, sir. He said, well, when you play defense, get the rebound, dribble it up, and shoot it yourself.
Yep.
So that's how I learned, and it helped me when I was, you know, because I was always on teams where, you know, Curtis Blair, who's an official, number 74 in the NBA, we were high school teammates.
Oh, wow. My
junior year, we were high school teammates. And so I've always been on teams where I wasn't the best player, or I was one of the best players. So I always had to learn to play with other guys. And then I went to Flint Hill Prep. So back then it was Flint Hill Prep, Oak Hill Academy.
Got you.
And it really wasn't no one else. So my senior year, so that was the end of my junior year after we went state. Spring break, I left and went to Flint Hill Prep.
Because you wanted to play.
I had to, like, everybody on my junior.
They graduated.
They graduated.
Yeah.
And they
so
were
it was
leaving.
just you.
So I was like, who am I going to play with? So actually my cousin, he ended up playing, he was my same class, but he ended up playing football at Virginia Tech. So it would have been just me and him. And I was like,
no.
And so my dad was looking at both Oak Hill and Flint Hill. And he said, you need to go to D.C. You got an aunt live up there. So I went up to Northern Virginia. And my teammates at Flint Hill Prep was Randolph Childress.
Oh.
And Aaron Bain.
Yeah, you had
so
squad.
I had another great team. Then we had this big kid. This kid was like 6'10". I can't remember where he was from. His name was Frazier Johnson. Man, he was a man child. And so we had a good team then, you know, playing for Stu Vetter, the same high school coach Kevin Durant played for, Dennis Scott, Ronnie Thompson. So the history was there. And then if you know anything about DC, that Northern Virginia basketball, it was on another level.
It's a different level.
Yeah, and especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was, so that summer, and I'll let you ask some questions, but it's a great story.
You're good.
So I get there, kind of like second semester after spring break, we working out. And at the time, I'm thinking, shit, I just won the state championship. I'm in great shape. Man, I got to that program. They had a weightlifting program.
Mm-hmm.
They had a running program. I couldn't make it through the first practice.
Struggling.
So I was like, hold on, what I have gotten myself into. But then the summer league team, my summer league team was, we beat Lonzo Mourning. He was a freshman at Georgetown. So my summer league team was Lonzo Mourning, Mark Tillman, Mutombo, my high school teammate, because you could only have two. At that time, the rules were in the summer league, you don't have two high school teammates on a summer league team. It was an NCAA rule or whatever. So Aaron Bain was my other teammate.
They put Mutombo and Mourning on the same team?
Yes. So, and now I look back on it. So a story was John Thompson and Coach Smith would never recruit the same players.
Really?
And I hadn't committed to Carolina. I was like, I was still open. So my 5 schools was Virginia Tech, Virginia, North Carolina, because I wanted to play in the ACC, Georgetown, and Maryland.
Okay.
And Maryland was on there.
Where was Maryland? What conference was Maryland in?
So check this out. Maryland was in the ACC.
Yes.
But check this out, man. My favorite player was Lynn Bias. That's why I wore 34. And I was going to go to Maryland. That's where I wanted to go.
Shout out my coach, high school coach, Keith Gatlin.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Coach.
Okay, yeah, Keith. So I wanted to go to Maryland, but my sophomore, going into my freshman year, going into my sophomore year of high school, that's when Lynn Bias passed. And they never recovered, man. Lefty was recruiting me. When he left Maryland, he took the job at James Madison. He recruited me at James Madison, but I was like, man, I want to play in the ACC. And then, so it was between.
So it was going to be Maryland if.
It would have been Maryland. But, so, after that happened, going into my senior year, North Carolina was on me, but they really weren't, they didn't offer.
Gotcha.
They hadn't offered yet. Not Carolina.
They take a minute.
So, but we were playing my high school games. Some was played at Georgetown and some was played at George Mason. And John Thompson never showed me love. Back then, because you hear he said, well, he didn't recruit kids unless they say they wanted to go to Georgetown. But I later found out that him and Coach Smith had an agreement that they wouldn't recruit the same players.
That's crazy.
And then go take that back a couple of years. My high school guidance counselor in Virginia, in Roanoke, played for Coach Smith at Carolina. Dick Kepler. And I didn't know it. I'm just walking through the school playing basketball. So he had told Coach Smith about me. And they came to a game or two, but the knock was, well, playing in Roanoke, we don't know if you can translate that to the ACC.
Exactly.
And that was one of the reasons I went from Flint Hill Prep.
Yes.
So when I got up there and I was played against, we played against Monty Williams. Who else? Michael Tate.
Y'all traveling all over the place.
Yeah, we've traveled everywhere.
Y'all traveling all over the place to play.
So I was still able to do what I did my junior year, my senior year, in what so-called was a better conference.
That's where it come down to.
And then Coach Smith, and they started showing me the love.
Yeah, because that's what I remember my junior year, we won state, and that was sort of the same thing. I was going to go to Oak Hill or something like that but we still had a good team. Right. Like where I was at. And we were still doing the national schedule, and we were going to play tough teams. So I was like, I don't need to go nowhere. I could just stay where I am. We're going to travel. And we got a solid team.
You were in a private school.
Yeah, I was in private school already.
Yeah, see, I was in public.
Yeah, you was in public. I directly went to private because I knew if I went to public, it was going to be too damn easy.
You're right.
And no offense to everybody, but it was. But that's crazy. We like to talk about the highs and the lows, right? What was something you had to get through? What is something that you had to refocus in high school or you were going to go down the wrong path. Not the wrong path, but yeah, the wrong path.
I had to leave my hometown because my dad, my stepdad showed me how to introduce me to basketball.
Yep.
My real father and my mom were divorced. They got divorced when I was probably 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still in my life. And I would stay with my mom, then go live with so I had 3 sisters.
Okay.
So some days I would stay with my mom with my youngest sister and my older sister. And then my sister in the middle, she was living with her stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
No, she was living with her real dad, but was my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going from 3 different homes not my whole childhood, but from probably 7th grade to my junior year until I left.
Because you went to D.C.
Yeah. So I was going from 3 different homes
mm-hmm.
and staying with my sisters just to be around them. And one of my sisters was kind of young who was living with her dad,
mm-hmm.
which was my stepdad. So
mm-hmm.
I stayed with her most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But right around the 10th grade, I moved in with my father.
Okay.
Because I was able to say who I wanted to live with.
Yeah.
With the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And so my grades were like, I was a good student, but I didn't apply myself.
Yep.
You know how it is.
You just give them. Mm-hmm.
But my stepdad told me, he was like, look, if you're not passing, you can't play.
Yeah.
So then when I started to buckle down a little bit more, but just for the stability, when I went to Flint Hill Prep, I had more stability. I was able to focus on grades.
You're not worried about
basketball.
What house you're going to.
Right. I wasn't, although, every house, I had my own bedroom in each house.
Yeah.
But it was just like, all right, where am I going to be? And you trying to work your schedule. Because
mm-hmm.
when I stayed with my dad, I had to ride the bus to school.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I stayed with my mom, she would take me to school. So it was like a different routine.
Every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So having that stability, moving up to Flint Hill, I lived with a family who had a son who played on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more relaxed. All the guys like Randolph and, other guys would come over and we would all hang out at this family's house. I mean, Serge Wicker, who played at Carolina,
I gotta see the
7-footer from from Holland.
Yes.
He lived with that family.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy because Stu Vetter, Mike Pepper, who played at Carolina,
mm-hmm.
was the first player he sent to Carolina, and he was sending a lot of Dennis went to Georgia Tech, Randolph went to Wake Forest. He was sending guys to Virginia. Aaron Bain played at Villanova. Every year he had 2 or 3 guys. Ronnie Thompson played for him.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Georgetown. He sent several players to Georgetown, and it was just, for me, basketball-wise, the training, the competition I got to play against every weekend in the summer league, it was unbelievable. Now, it was tough.
Yeah, it prepares you more than anything.
Right. It was tough when I got home after all the basketball, all my homework done, and I'm sitting in my bedroom, I'm looking at the ceiling and thinking about my family back in Roanoke. That was tough.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It has to be.
Y'all know this is one of my favorite times of the year, and I'm a national champion. There's no better place to put some money on the line and pick your national champion than with DraftKings. So whether you're picking the upset or picking the favorite, go to DraftKings right now, download the app, and use promo code RACE. And new customers who bet as little as $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. I'm going to repeat it again. Go to DraftKings right now, download the app, and use promo code RACE. And you can use that $150 in bonus bets on same-game parlays with DraftKings for a shot to win more money. And I say this every week, if sports betting isn't legal in your state, DraftKings got you with daily fantasy. So whether you use daily fantasy or same-game parlays, go to DraftKings, download the app, and use promo code RACE. And new customers who bet as little as $5 get $150 in bonus bets instantly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
What was something important for you in your recruiting that made you, ultimately everyone knows you went to Carolina.
Right.
But what was it for you that made you pick Carolina?
So several things. So my mom and my 3 sisters was living in Roanoke.
Okay.
And while I was in D.C. at the prep school, they moved to Chapel Hill.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But she was dating some guy and he lived in Chapel Hill. I found, it was whatever.
Yeah.
But so Sidney Lowe from NC State, no, it was Derek Wittenberg. One of the assistant coaches was recruiting my mom hard as far as your son need to come to state.
Yep.
But my stepfather was a big Carolina fan.
Really?
So we used to watch Carolina games
all the time.
Perkins, Jordan, Scott, Black. We used to watch them all. But I didn't, when you're young, you run by the TV, Carolina on, you just run out to keep moving, go to the park. And so I heard about Coach Smith and he would tell the stories. And then when it came down to it, I only took 3 visits.
Okay.
Virginia Tech.
You had to take that one.
Well, yeah, I had to take it. And they offered my cousin who played on the basketball team. They offered him, they said, look, you come here, your cousin get a free ride.
There they go. They go.
But they were in the Metro Conference.
Oh, they weren't in the ACC?
They weren't in the ACC.
Oh,
they was a Metro.
Yeah,
so I was like, man.
Hey, listen,
I was like, they ain't on TV.
That's
I was
smart,
like,
though.
nah.
That's smart recruiting from them.
So then it was between Virginia and North Carolina because Georgetown, Maryland never recovered from the Limbaugh incident.
Yeah.
And John Thompson never showed me love. So I was like, so.
Would Georgetown have been a serious?
Yeah, because John Thompson was one of few Black coaches.
That's true.
So that was intriguing.
Yeah.
And so when it came down to it, it was Virginia and North Carolina. And at the time, Virginia, Grant Hill wasn't going to Virginia because he was a Virginia guy. Lonzo Mourning was a Virginia guy. He went to Georgetown. And Carolina had Hubert, it had Kevin Madden on the team. Warren Martin was a Virginia guy. He wasn't on the team when I was there. J.R. Reed. So the year I came in, J.R. Reed decided to leave.
You went what year?
I came in at 89.
89, yep, okay.
And J.R. had another year. He left his junior year.
Okay.
So Carolina had all the Virginia guys and they were winning. And then so when I went on my visit to Virginia, it was Bryant Stiff and Terry Kirby. But he was playing both football and basketball. And I was like, Carolina had Rick Fox, King Rice, Scott Williams,
nice,
J.R. Reed.
Yeah.
I'm like, and most kids now be like, I don't want to go because it's competition.
Right.
I was like, look, I don't know. I don't care who they are. I'm playing.
Yeah.
That was my attitude.
For sure.
Yeah. So
if you're nice, it don't matter.
Yeah, right. So that was my attitude. And everybody tried to use that against Carolina. If you go there, you ain't gonna play. They got all these guys. I was like, well,
and we got a chance to win too.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. And Coach Smith came into the living room and he did not promise me playing time. He said, "Look, I don't promise playing time. If you deserve to play, you'll play." In the back of my head, I'm like, I'm playing.
Yes, for sure.
And then it was he preached graduating, and he preached winning basketball games.
Yeah. And
they had been to Final Fours. Every time I looked at the Final Four, they won.
They win now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I got a better chance if I go to Carolina and win the national championship.
Listen.
That was it.
That was the only thing I thought about.
Yeah.
I looked at literally all the schools that I had, looked at the lineups, the roster, all that. I'm like, this is a school I can win a national championship at.
Right.
Because we think in the same wavelength.
Yeah.
You play with good players, you're going to get recognized. We going to play.
Right.
If you talented enough, you're going to play. So, and it's Carolina at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We know how
that powder blue, man. When I walked through that curtain on that Dean Smithson, I was like, man. And at the time, it was 3 years old.
That's what I'm saying.
So, because I went to...
And having a gym that huge
right,
is unheard of.
Right.
And it's packed out.
Yeah. And so when I went to University Hall, Virginia, I was like,
yep. This ain't it.
Yeah.
This ain't it.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I feel you. I feel you. So it's that time. You go to college. First of all, do you remember who your first letter was? Or your first offer?
It might have been Louisville.
Really?
But Louisville was in the Metro.
Oh, okay. What the hell is the Metro?
Metro Conference. That's what it was. It was Louisville. I think it was Louisville, Virginia Tech. Man, I can't even remember who else was in that conference.
Who was in the
Metro Conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Was it a bad conference?
No, well, Louisville had Purvis Ellis.
No, I'm saying Louisville and Virginia Tech. Were Virginia Tech good back then?
They had Bimbo Coles. They had Dale Carey.
Okay, yeah.
So they were good.
They were solid.
They were, but it wasn't the ACC.
It's not the ACC.
Back,
South Carolina, Florida State, Cincinnati, Tulane.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was coming up, the ACC and the Big East were the two conferences.
Mm-hmm. If you got recruit from there, you going to one of them conferences. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. You get to Carolina though. It's go time now.
Yeah.
What was your welcome to college moment?
Hey, like any other freshman, you get there. So this is crazy because so we get there. You know they invite you to summer school.
Yep.
So I'm in summer school, and I walk down to the gym. You have J.R. Reed, who just went to the Charlotte Hornets, Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, Kenny Smith.
Damn.
I think Brad Daugherty was in the gym. And I'm looking around, I'm like, this is what I'm going to play against every summer? I'm here.
Bro, I'm telling you.
I'm here.
That is that's the greatest thing about Carolina, bro. The summers when the OGs came back, bro. Like I was playing pickup with Rasheed Wallace, Sean May, Ray Felton, Rayshon Terry, Wayne Ellington, Danny. Like,
yeah.
Did y'all just hear what the names he just Sam Perkins, Michael Jordan?
It was
Kenny Smith.
It was and that was Mike in his. I wouldn't say it was his prime, but that was his coming out. Yo, this cat, man.
What are you seeing in these pickup games?
So Mike would always come back and he would pick only walk-ons and guys. Like, you'd be like, who is this cat? You know what I'm saying? And that's who got to play with Mike. And then, so the rules were, and I don't know if this was the same rules when Roy took over, but the rules were the pros make the rules. So what the games go to, who gets to play first, and all that.
You use the NBA ball, all that.
So Mike came back. He picked all walk-ons and JV players.
And y'all just sitting there losing.
And we losing every game. I think we beat him. My sophomore year, we beat him once. So the rule at Carolina was, if you beat the pros, they take you to dinner. They still have that?
No, we did not have that. That's some, hey, Ray, that's some bullshit.
Yeah,
right
hey,
there, man.
man. So, because, back then, we weren't getting no money. We
for sure.
You look forward to the summers because you're going to eat that slugs, Angus Barn.
Yep.
Man, Mike, we beat Mike one game, and we might have played 7. We beat him the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And King Rice was talking shit. King was...
He always talks shit.
He was talking shit to Mike. Uh-huh. Mike said, all right, the next 7 games, we didn't get close to beating them. And he had walk-ons, man. I mean, so the lineup was me, Hubert Davis, Rick Fox, King Rice, and Scott Williams.
And y'all couldn't beat walk-ons and Michael Jordan.
We couldn't beat walk-ons and Mike.
Damn.
And then I'm gonna tell you
the GOAT.
I'm gonna tell you my Michael Jordan. And then he didn't. So the one game we beat him.
He having PTSD.
Yeah. No, I still when I see Mike today, I said, man, you still owe me dinner.
Yep.
So look, he said, all right, I'll meet y'all at the time it was a little restaurant under the where players used to be down there. It's called the Ratskeller.
Uh-huh.
He said, I'll meet y'all at the Ratskeller. We sitting in the Rascal, he don't show up.
Damn.
Didn't even pay for our dinner. But check this out, man. So my roommate was from Virginia.
Yep.
Kenny Harris.
Mhm.
He's from Petersburg, Virginia. He broke all the Virginia scoring records.
So he nice.
He nice. But he was a guard.
Uh-huh.
And you know, Dean, man. So Dean wanted his guards, probably like Roy, to run the team.
Yeah.
You can't come in there if you're a guard and you shoot more than everybody else.
Yeah. Especially the point guard.
So this cat, man, he could score 1-on-5. Dog. He'd come down, he had a smooth jump shot. He could pull up at the 3-point line 1-on-5 and knock him down. He was, to be honest, he would go in at King Rice every day at practice. But he couldn't crack because he didn't understand what Coach Smith was looking for. Coach Smith, like, I got 5 All-Americans.
Yeah.
You got to get them the ball. You can't come down. So he never could figure it out. So, man, this cat transfers to VCU. I'm going to tell you how Mike is. He transferred to VCU, right? And then he's good enough to get to somebody's camp.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets invited to the Bulls training camp.
Okay.
So Mike sees him. Okay, hold on. Story before that. The second year Mike comes back, that's when the Jordans came out.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the ones or the twos, the red, black, and white ones.
Those ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he buys a pair. My roommate buys a pair.
Yep.
Mike tell him to go take them off.
Why? He didn't deserve it.
We were about to play pickup, and he comes out there with the Jordans on. He hyped because, you know, he had the Jordans. Nobody else had a pair.
Yep.
Mike said, go take them off. He said, you're not playing unless you take my shoes off. Because he didn't get enough minutes. Damn.
Oh, that is sick.
Yo, and I'm talking like the game stopped. He could not get in the game until he went and took those shoes off.
And he was fighting it the whole time. Like, no,
he was fighting over it. So then, 4 years later, he's at the Bulls training camp. Check this out. He's at Bulls training camp. And this wasn't that new collective bargaining rule where you can only practice 2 hours.
Yeah.
This was training camp, 4 hours for damn near 5 weeks, 2 days, right? So
that sounds crazy.
Yeah, so he telling me the story. He said, man, Mike would keep us at training camp, and then when everybody else got to go home, he said, young fella, you staying after. We're going to play 1-on-1. So Mike plays one. This is after 3 and 4 hour practice of training camp.
He playing 1-on-1.
And you know how hard training camp is when you're a rookie.
Yeah.
You go on college speed, everybody else picking their spots to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike, this was had to be 90, graduated 93. So it had to be 95, 96, and Mike at his peak.
Mike cooking at this point.
So Mike told him, the rookie, you stand after and play training. You stand after. So he didn't get to go home and rest in between training camp. You go on 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
He said Mike made him play 1-on-1 every day. The last cut, Mike told him, if you'd have stayed at Carolina, you'd be on the team. Dog. I was like, what?
That's tough.
Man.
That's
and you know,
tough.
Mike called the shot. Mike could have kept him on the team.
He could have kept him on the team, but hey, look, Mike hold grudges.
Man, dog. I don't know if Mike remember that story, but my boy Kenny, he would tell you that story.
That's
today
crazy.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. You did the Carolina Mile?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You a good runner?
No. Now I could do sprint.
Yeah.
I could sprint between 94 feet, but that Carolina Mile was a monster.
That got me, boy.
The only thing saved me was going up to Flint Hill. I was in the best shape going to Carolina. My first year.
Yeah.
I was in the best shape ever.
Mm-hmm.
But so my mile time was I was running with the bigs. I had to I was kind of I could run with the guards.
Yeah.
But I was playing the big. So my mile time, I didn't get the mile time like the 7-footers because we had like 4 7-footers.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so I had a 5:21 mile. That was my mile. But the point guards was running at like 5:03.
Yeah.
D. Phelps had like D. Phelps and Scott Cherry had a 4 something. Did y'all run Laurel Hill?
The Hills?
No, Laurel Hill was up by the law school. So you leave the Smith Center.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I mean, I'm like, man, what this got to do with basketball? But so you leave the Smith Center, you go down, like, you come out of Smith Center, you go right down to the highway, and you come around, so you run down that trail, and then you go up and you come up by somehow you came up through the back of the law school and then back down by the baseball stadium, and then back to the Smith Center, up the Smith Center steps, and around the backside of the Smith Center. That's how we had. That was a beast.
Y'all ran that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like back then, you know, all the weightlifting stuff was different than what these guys and the mindset of training. Like I played for Larry Brown in Philadelphia, and he was like, "We're not gonna run lines. We go hard in practice and we get after it defensively. We don't have the condition."
Yeah.
So the game was changing from even when the mindset. When I got to Carolina, the weight room was garbage. And I came from Flint Hill where we had a weightlifting program. Yeah. So, and Coach Smith at the time, he wasn't a big weightlifter. Guy. So I'd be the only one in the weight room.
Yeah, he's like, just get in shape.
Yeah.
We're going to get in shape. We're going to run.
Yeah. We're going to hoop.
We go run
so
and hoop.
It's a totally different mindset now, even the way kids train. I would go over and lift with the football team.
Really?
Yeah, but my position was different because, you know, I'm 6'7".
Yeah.
I'm playing the power forward, and I had to guard. I was able to guard 1 through 5.
Mm. You, how long you had to stay in school back then?
Well, I stayed in school 4 years.
Yeah.
You could come out after your. Nobody was doing it. Coming out early, you know, even the Fab Five, they came out as sophomores.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think when I was coming through, my era was Sean Kemp came out. He didn't go to high school. I mean, he didn't go to college.
He just went straight.
Yeah, but it might have been because he, you know, back then he had a grade.
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
What was your? I guess you would say your coming out party where you figured it out, because it takes a minute.
Yeah.
For some people.
At Carolina.
Yeah.
Man, it wasn't until my junior year.
Really?
And it was almost because I take that back. My freshman year, we played Georgetown in the Big East ACC Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we had beaten Alonzo and them in the States my junior year.
Yep.
And then they were my summer league teammates,
mm-hmm.
Alonzo and Mutombo. And we played Georgetown. I think it was on CBS. And I check in the game as a freshman. I wasn't afraid. Man, I dunked on both Alonzo and Mutombo. I dunked on both of them. And you know, that's when I kind of already knew because, you know, as a freshman, you go in there and you playing against Mike, JR, you know, Brad Daugherty, Sam Perkins, and your confidence there because you can hold your own. I wasn't killing them.
No, yeah.
But I'm on the floor and I'm competing.
You're not a liability out there.
Right, yeah.
You not somebody they not guarding. They're gonna have to respect you.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times these kids don't know what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
I knew anytime I stepped on the floor, I was the best rebounder.
Mm-hmm.
And that, whether it was JR, Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, I knew I could get a rebound.
Yeah.
Offense and defense. So I was able to do that against them guys. There was other parts of my game that I needed to work on, like my ball handling and shooting and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew there was one thing. I could defend 1 through 5, and I wasn't going to quit,
mm-hmm.
and I could rebound. And I rode that all the way through college.
Listen, I think that's huge because a lot of people don't understand, like you said, what they're good at.
Right.
And what can keep them on the floor. And then as you're on the floor, then you start to sprinkle in new things as you're playing. And that's...
when I talk to kids, when I go to camps and they bring up Carolina, I said, think about it. I said, Danny Green.
Mm-hmm.
I said, he was in He was in G League teams. He bounced around. And he stuck and played, 10, 12, 15 years?
Yeah, I think he got like 14 to 15 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, and did his thing. But like, this is the difference between, I say, with Carolina, like, you were playing against the best of the best every summer.
Right.
That made playing in college easy.
Yeah.
Like, you're not playing Michael Jordan when you play these college games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I still ain't want to guard him.
Yeah, you still ain't want to guard him. But that's a different level that you playing every summer.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of like what we have over there is that camaraderie of them coming back and wanting to come back to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
And y'all playing against that, that's elite. Y'all's so your freshman year, how much did you play?
I probably played close to 20 minutes, maybe 18, if I'm correct.
Who was in front of you that year?
Rick Fox, Kevin Madden, Pete Chilcutt, Scott Williams.
You gonna make sure they found a way to get you in the game. Though.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, it was weird because, Coach Smith back then the game was closer to the paint.
Yep.
And Coach Smith knew I was going to defend, and he knew I was going to rebound. I didn't need to shoot the ball. Like, so many of these kids, if they don't get 10, 12 shots a game, they can't play. They let it get to them. Coach Smith told me, he said, listen, he pulled me to the side. He said, George, it was a crazy story because I'm in practice and I'm killing. I'm getting every rebound. But I ain't boxing out.
Mm-hmm. But so, you're going to get them.
I know I'm going to get them. And so every time the ball go up, I get a rebound, I stick it back, put it back in. And you know how they do plus minus.
Yep.
So every time I get a rebound, you hear a manager, George didn't box out. But I got the rebound.
What is it?
So after practice, I'm the only one running. And I'm thinking, I had a hell of a practice, man. I'm thinking I'm killing. So I'm running sprints because I don't box out. Yeah. And practice plans say box out is key. And it's key because you can lose a game if you don't box out. But anyway, so Coach Smith pulled me to his office and he said, he talked, George, he said, where do you think you are? You're not at Flay Hill anymore. And he said, It was crazy. So, you know how Roy's desk was. You got this big desk.
Yeah.
You sitting on the other side.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in front of Dean Smith, who, to the day he died, I was still intimidated by him.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're not at Flint Hill anymore. He said, if you don't box out, I can't play you. And I was like, yes, sir. So it made me a better player once I got to a high level.
Yeah.
Because
you got to.
You put a body on someone, so you get to play more as a pro. But it was a different world. And
so you was at Carolina from what to what?
So I graduated high school 89, so 89, 90 to 93. I played all 4 years.
Clearly we know which team was the best team.
Right. Actually, my sophomore year.
But that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
There's always a team, and I would say the same thing. My sophomore year team was special.
Yeah.
But we lost it in the Natty, and then next year we won it. What made that team, your sophomore year team, better than the one that won it?
The sophomore team had more talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say this because there was some things that happened my sophomore year because we had Hubert Davis, Rick Fox, King Rice, Pete Chilcutt.
Mm-hmm.
And myself. And then we had a couple of, we had that freshman class with Brian Reese, Derek Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a great team, but our leaders, and you can go back and look and see who the leaders were, they just partied too much. Mm-hmm. You know how life is in Chapel Hill. So if you don't
what's the furthest y'all made it? How far?
We went to the Final Four.
Yeah, you went to the Final Four.
And we lost we had beaten Duke 3 times that year. I ain't talking about beat them. We
beat the brakes off of them.
Man, King, Rick Fox, King was killing Bobby Hurley. Rick Fox was killing the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Duke ain't have a chance.
Yep.
And we get there. I don't know if this is for the podcast, you're going to edit it, but so we beat Temple in the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm.
And we get back. The 3 seniors, they partied the whole time we get back. Right? We going to the Final Four. And this is my view and what,
for sure.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And they partying, man. And we about to go to the Final Four. And this is what I think happened. So they partied every day. They would enjoy people patting you on your back. You know how it is. I mean, Carolina crazy during the NCAA tournament.
For sure.
And we get to Indianapolis. We play in Kansas. Those 3 seniors shot 5 for 25.
That'll do it.
And
because you counting on them.
Yeah, they shot 5 for 25. We lose by 4. So then I went back, and Coach Smith asked me. He said, "What?" And this is because remember, I'm intimidated by Coach Smith.
Yeah.
But he asked me a question, and you know how it is. If they ask you a question, they already know the answer.
They know the answer already.
And this is like, you know, I'm going into my senior year. No, I'm going into my junior year. Me and Hubert are the 2 captains coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "What would you do different?" He asked me. I was like, and again, I'm thinking, I got to tell this man the truth because he probably already know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He gonna see what you really gonna say.
He said, "What would you do different?" I said, "We will have a running program. We will have a conditioning program. We will have curfew. And I'm going into my junior year. Hubert going into his senior year, and I wouldn't rely on my seniors." That's what I told him.
You said you wouldn't rely on
wouldn't rely on my seniors. And I'm about to be a junior and a senior.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I wouldn't rely on my seniors. Not that if the seniors, because there was times I thought he could have put me in the game. He could have put B. Reese, Derek Phelps, Eric Montross in the game during that Kansas game that we could have made a bucket.
Yeah.
And we sitting, I was playing, but you know what I'm saying? So, and that was my experience and that was my viewpoint. And I told him that. He said, "I agree with you."
Mm-hmm.
And I just exhaled. I was like, shit.
We on the same page.
Yeah.
We're good.
I exhaled. And then, so then my junior year, Hubert senior year, we lose to Ohio State, but we didn't have enough. And it's a big difference. I mean, these people, the kids that can come in as a freshman and average 15 and 20 points, though they talented.
For sure.
But coming through Carolina, coming from a sophomore where I was probably averaging 8 to 9, and then my junior year I was expected to help Hubert carry the load. It was tough.
Yeah.
In the conference that we play in and the competition we play against.
Yep.
So going into my senior year, I was better prepared to take more of a workload offensively. But that sophomore team was way more talent-wise. It had more talent than that my senior year.
Should have been a natty.
I should have had 2 of them. And that still to this day, that's the one thing that I'm disappointed in my sophomore year, that I didn't speak up more as a sophomore. Because I saw it happening, you know, guys partying, and I'm like, man,
it's
know
tough.
how it is.
Those situations are tough because if they're still producing,
right,
there's a difference.
Yeah.
But then if you lose and you like, bruh, if you just one more week, let's win it. And then I'll be out there with you.
Right. Right.
Let's win the thing first, and then we can I'll do it at the same time.
Coach Smith could have had 2. And then you hear the stories about when you know, J.R. Reed and that class of guys and the things that was going on, partying, J.R. got suspended, UCLA. That team was probably more talented than any of the 4 teams I played on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't win it. So it's, you know,
we have so many teams in Carolina that were ridiculously talented that didn't win it.
Even my senior year when I graduated, you had Rashid, Stack, Jeff McGinnis, and they didn't win it. I like that team was, and they had the same guys that I played with.
Yeah.
So when people talk about the talented teams, and there's more than just talent, and you got to. I think my senior year we were lucky because we was healthy for the most part. Scheduling the way the schedules, because we played Michigan and Hawaii, they beat us. We ended up playing them in the national championship. I think if it was the other way around, they probably would have beat us in the championship game.
Because that second time you got something to.
Right. And
it's trying to get that get back.
Yeah, and then the way we went through the ACC, we lost in the championship of the ACC, so it reset us mentally to get through the NCAA tournament. You know, so it's hard to win the national championship,
bro. We talked about this multiple times how hard it is to win it.
Yeah,
because that happened to us when we. So my sophomore year, we won the ACC regular season, won the ACC championship, got away to the finals. Then Chris Jenkins hit the game winner.
Yeah.
My junior year, we lost to Duke, and I remember we came back, bro. And you know, Coach Williams and Coach Smith, they do the same shit. We lost to Duke. We get back. We are in the film room. We watched the whole game.
Yep.
There's a state championship going on in the Smith Center.
Right.
We hear people going crazy in there.
Right.
We in the film room getting cussed out. He letting us have it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. But like you said, it was a reset.
Yep.
That was something we was like, okay, if we're going to really do this, we got to actually do this better if we're going to get back to a national championship. We end up doing it, and the rest is history. But it's crazy how those things align in the national championship runs, because I remember them telling us that. They was like, no team that has won a national championship won the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
In Carolina history.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't like to think about it like that, but it's a crazy.
It's because the ACC conference is down a little bit now, but back when, I would say as just much as 5 years ago, getting through the ACC you were battle tested.
For sure.
Yeah, you were battle tested.
And it was decent last year and the year before. This year's just an anomaly, I think. Right. I think with the new NIL and shit like that, it's kind of, the ACC has to pick it up because you can see where the SEC is. They like,
shit,
money? That's all y'all bet here.
I think the way of I ain't gonna say old Carolina, but the way we've done things years ago, in order for us to compete in today's game, we got to change it off.
I talked about this on my show to the Baja a couple of weeks ago, and I said, the Carolina name doesn't mean what it used to, because everybody now it's about money, right? We have an upper hand because we are Carolina,
right? And
people, there's not a kid I talk to that doesn't be like, dude, I would love to play for Carolina.
Yeah,
but we have to pay now,
right? And I think they're talking about doing a new arena, because you go to other arenas now. What I am in the space that I'm. I work with MAA Capital, which is a wealth management group out of the Charlotte office with some Carolina folks. And so I do a lot of traveling. I go to a lot of college games, and I'm seeing these arenas as a spectator.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played at Carolina, and it might have been different with you, because Roy changed the seating around the gym. He put the students a little bit closer. But when you go to other college arenas, Gonzaga, Louisville, Yum Yum Center, Kentucky, even Alabama, the schools in the SEC, the students are down on the court. And it's a totally different experience. And our fans are so spoiled that, they only get excited when Duke come to town.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of the size of the Smith Center, the students need to be closer to the court, because Duke don't win all those games if their fans aren't that close.
It's not happening.
They really got home court advantage. Gonzaga has home court advantage.
And you can do it the same way.
Right.
And my thing is like, it's so big, right? Just let the students have one side.
Yeah. Or the whole bottom lower level, which is probably the first, you can give them the first 10 rows all the way around. And everybody else will still have great seats.
You still have great. I agree.
But the atmosphere would be totally different.
It'd be different in there.
And then when I knew I was coming on with you to talk about this podcast, also, I was talking to Kyler Perry when he was at Kentucky. He moved the parents further away.
Yeah.
Because in today's game, I think the parents are too involved with their kids. Like my father told me, he said, listen, I taught you how to play defense. I taught you how to rebound. You know how to shoot. You know how to dribble. Go do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hear stuff about this year's team and whether the players get along with each other, parents getting involved, what they say to the parents. Coach Smith always knew that my uncle was talking to me. Because anytime that I shot the ball without it being an offensive rebound, now I would get 4 to 5 offensive rebounds a game. And Coach Smith told me, he said, anytime you get an offensive rebound, I don't care if you're at half court, you can shoot it. He told me that. So, but anytime if I broke the offense and took a shot, he knew that my uncle was talking to. Because my uncle was like, oh man, you should be shooting the ball more. And if you look at my career, I probably only took average of 6-7 shots a game.
Really?
My whole 4 years on average. I shot more in my senior year.
Yeah.
But if you average my 4 years, I probably got 6 shots a game. That wasn't an offensive tip in.
Just workhorse.
Yeah. But Coach Smith, man, he knew when parents was in players' ears. And he said, listen, you play for me, you don't play for your uncle.
Yeah.
And back then, I know for me, coaches were like godly figures or father figures. They were just, if a coach told you something, you did it. You ain't ask why. You did it because you thought it was the best thing for the team. Yeah. I think now these players they question the coaches' opinions. The parents question, and you can't have all that going on a team for a team to be successful.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another segment on Theo's Picks. As you guys know, we are sponsored by DraftKings. So y'all go to DraftKings right now, download the app, and use promo code RACE. Now let's get to the picks. Friday, March 14th, Boston versus Miami in Miami. That's always bump. That's just smoke through and through. I got Boston winning that one, though. Boston's, they ready. They ready to take off. Then we got Indiana and Philly. Jesus, Philly just need to shut it the fuck down. I got Indy winning that one by 1 million. Then we have Dallas versus Houston in Houston. Good bump. Both teams very competitive. I got Dallas winning that one. Then we have Cleveland versus Memphis in Memphis. Tough game, hard-nosed game. I got Cleveland winning that one. Cleveland has a really, really good basketball team that people need to watch out for. Then we have LA versus Denver in Denver. Denver's winning that one. Denver's a very good basketball team. I wouldn't want to play them. Then we're going to go Sac versus Phoenix in Phoenix. This one's a doozy. I'm going to go Phoenix. They got a guy over there that's really damn good. Saturday, March 15th, we got OKC versus Detroit in Detroit. It's going to be a tough one. It's in Detroit. Upset. I'm going to say Detroit wins that one. We got Indy versus Milwaukee. That's low-key a mini rivalry there. So I'm going to go Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee going to pull that game out. Then we got New York versus Golden State in Golden State. I'm going to say Golden State wins that game. Like I said, I believe in Golden State. So that's another segment of Theo's Picks. Y'all go download the app, DraftKings app, of course, and use promo code RACE. Now let's get back to the episode.
The Natty, y'all beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Chris Webber, is it?
Yeah, it was Chris Webber, Jalen
Jesus
Rose.
Christ.
Yeah.
Give me your vantage point of that whole situation.
So my vantage point, it goes back. Before
we talk about that, let me ask you this. Because I talk about we talked about this. What was the hardest game? Was that the hardest game, the Natty, for y'all in that run?
No.
What game was the hardest?
Cincinnati.
What game was it?
It was the Elite. Was it the Elite 8 to go to the Final Four?
Okay, yeah. It's always a game before then.
Yeah,
man.
it was crazy because, and I never had a chance to play for Coach Williams, but Coach Smith, man, and you hear about the legendary and his mind, and I mean, I'm coming in as a freshman, and it was not one time where this man didn't hit you with a wild moment. So go back to my freshman year, we played Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
No, was it Oklahoma? Oklahoma was number 1 seed. We were like a 8 or 16 seed. And Coach Smith drawing up a play, and you know, as a freshman, you all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? But it was a point in the game, the last play of the game, and he said, listen, he would draw it up, and he'd be so calm. He would draw it up, and he would tell you, and he's one of the other few coaches that I played for over my 20-something years of playing basketball and playing for coaches that could draw up a play and tell you exactly what the defense is going to do, and he's going to tell you exactly how you counter it and what your two counters are. If he do this, do this. If he does this, do this.
Mm-hmm.
And you go out there, and it happens the same way in slow motion, just like he drew it up.
Mm-hmm.
So he draws up a play for Rick Fox. And to go back to practice, this is when we get practice for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Fox will be in practice, and Rick will be just doing totally the opposite of what Coach Smith would say. It was funny because, you know, King Rice being King Rice, he was like, watch Rick fuck this up. and so Coach Smith would, you know, situations. Mm-hmm. You know, y'all did that.
Yep.
So we'd be in situation, and Coach Smith would draw up a play that he thinking that he didn't thought of for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
He draw it up, and, you know, we scrimmage against the blue team.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Rick, I need you to do this. So Rick, and I don't know what Rick, maybe Rick was just trying to piss him off. Rick would get to the end of the play, the most important part of the play, just fuck it up. Just throw the ball in the stands. So Coach Smith say, well, maybe if I tell you do the opposite, you'll do what I want you to do. And Rick had this. He was probably the only player that I played with that could just fuck with Coach Smith. And I don't know why he did it, but he would just, excuse my language on this podcast, but he would just mess with Coach Smith.
Yeah. And
King would egg him on. And so we playing Oklahoma in the NCAA tournament. And this will go back to the Chris Webber thing.
Uh-huh.
He drew up this play, and I swear, he said, Rick, we're going to swing the ball to you. You catch it. I don't want you to shoot the 3. I want you to take 2 dribbles and shoot it off the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and just, you know, being a freshman, you watching the play develop.
Mm-hmm.
Rick does exactly what Coach Smith asked him to do. Shoots it off the glass, time over, we win the game. We knocked the number 1 seed out of the NCAA tournament. Then we go back to, there was plenty of games, the Florida State games and Cincinnati. So we play in Cincinnati, which was the toughest game in that run. Nick Van Exel killing us in the first half. He had he might have had 24 in the first half.
Damn.
Yeah. So he killing us, right?
Yep.
And so Coach Smith makes the halftime adjustment, puts Derek Phelps on, because I don't know, maybe Brian Reese was guarding him or somebody. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But he puts Derek on him and makes the adjustments. And the last play of the game, he draws up a play, he takes a clipboard, he draws it up exactly. He said, Brian, we run this play in practice. You don't have time to dunk the ball. Because Brian had bounce. Mm-hmm. Brian Reese had the smoothest hops that I've ever seen in a player. You wouldn't even think he could jump that high. He was like, damn. But anyway, But Coach Smith say, Bryant, you don't have, and Coach Smith knew his players and he knew Bryant was going to try to dunk the ball. He said, Bryant, you don't have time to dunk this. So he draws the play up out of bounds, maybe 2 seconds left. We go up and Bryant tries to dunk it. And the ball goes in and comes out. We have to go. Now we have to win it in overtime. And we ended up winning in overtime, which is great. But we walk into the sideline and we looking at Bryant like, he just told you. Right.
He just told you can't dunk the ball.
So then we go back and we practicing. This is before the NCAA. Was it right before the ACC tournament? So we practicing. And we always practice situations. You know, back then you could have a 3-hour practice. We're going to practice till we get it right. Yep. That was Coach Smith's thing. So we in there practicing, and then the last 2 minutes is always situation. He'll get a blue team 15 points. And he give us 2 minutes to get back. You know how it is. You got to get close to the lead or take the lead.
Yep.
Or you lose and you run the sprints.
Yep.
So we in practice, and we making a comeback, and Donna Williams, there's a scramble. Loose ball on the floor, you know, first to the floor, you get points and all that. So guys on the floor, we sweating. And Donald dives on the ball, and he's sweating, so he's sliding. He calls a timeout. And again, we had been practicing for 3 hours. Whatever the practice plan said, we had, no box out, close out, close out with a hand up to the you know how they are, to the details. And the manager sitting there.
Clocking everything.
Yeah, clocking everything. And so Donna calls a timeout. Coach Smith, this is after we had been in the gym for 3 hours. I know at least 3 hours, and we going hard. Donna calls a timeout. Coach Smith blows it. He said, nobody used my timeouts but me.
Oh, my God.
Including my coaches.
This is PTSD because Coach used to hate that.
Yeah.
He used to hate when we did that.
So we sitting there and Coach Smith, he get mad and upset, but he was like, he blew one. Get on the end line. Put 100 points on the clock. You're going to run them off. So we running lines. Just for a timeout. Had to be in February. We running lines because Donald calls a timeout in practice. In practice now, like AI said, we talking about practice?
Yes.
so
I would have been pissed.
We running lines, and I'm like, and I'm pissed too, because I'm like, man, over a timeout? 4 weeks later, we in March Madness championship game. We playing against the Fab Five, and
they beat y'all earlier that year.
They had beat us earlier, but we knew going in. We got the best coach in the country. We prepared. They beat us on the tip in Hawaii. Yeah. Oh, we owed them. We weren't intimidated. We weren't scared. We respected them because we wanted the black socks and the black shoes, the black Nikes. We weren't Converse. So we were like, yo, man, they doing it. So we had respect for them. We didn't take them for granted, but we knew that we could play with them.
Yeah.
And it came down to that timeout call, man. But even before that, when we played them in Hawaii, they didn't have a press offense.
Really?
It was crazy. You would think, college, Big Ten team.
They went off straight talent.
Yeah, they were just hooping. And so Coach Smith gave me the freedom to go trap anytime I wanted to. If I saw the back of a jersey, or if I saw a guy that didn't look like he could handle the ball,
just go trap.
I go trap. Because I had Big E back there. I was like, nah.
You can drive if you want to.
Yeah. When you got the luxury to play with 7-footers like Mutombo and Theo Ratliff, I'm like, man, shit, I'm a gamble.
Yeah, you can go in there if you want to. You go deal with it.
So couple plays before that, if you watch the tape, Jalen Rose was taking the ball out. So I went over to E. I said, look, man, anytime Jalen takes the ball out, you run back and grab the basket, protect the rim, and me and Derek gonna do a 2-man trap. And I said, D, I said, you get in front of the trap and I'll be behind if Jalen takes the ball, because they didn't have a primary ball handler. Everybody was just running down the floor.
Yeah.
So a couple plays before that, Jalen took the ball out, and me and Derek had a 2-man zone press, and they couldn't get the ball in, so they called timeout. And then we go to the sideline, and Coach Smith's like, they don't have no more timeouts. It's that last timeout. And
that used that last one.
They used their last timeout. And I guess Coach Fisher didn't, I don't know, he might have told them they didn't have timeouts. But then go down the court a couple of times. The next play, Jalen takes the ball out of bounds. And I was like, man, shit.
Do the same thing?
Yeah, because if you watch the games enough, if you give teams time to come down and look, and teams get beat, like y'all got beat like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm going to run some time off this clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I was supposed to be guarding Jawan. So Montrose runs back. I stay up with Derek, and they couldn't get the ball in. He traveled. He run down the sideline, and that's one thing we learn every day in practice, use the sidelines as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get chewed out if the guard comes across half court and pick the ball up.
Yeah.
Coach Williams or Coach Smith, like, if you ain't in the middle of that court, and before you cross the court, you make a pass over and pass it back to break the press, they ain't do none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was licking my chops.
You saw food at that point.
I saw the half court line, and I saw that sideline. I said, Derek, it's 3 with the 2 defenders right there. It's 4 against 1.
And you got Chris Webber dribbling the ball.
And Chris Webber dribbling. And I think and the people ask me that all the time during the NCAA tournament, man, what was you thinking? And I was like, well, if it was me running up the sideline with the ball, I probably would call a timeout too.
I mean, panicked.
Yeah, because it was, and then
he was stuck.
Yeah,
he had nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go, and then you looking, and he was on his sideline.
And Did you hear timeout?
I heard timeout, but I didn't know if it said we don't have timeout.
Oh, okay.
But I heard timeout.
Okay.
So I don't know if some people that wasn't in the huddle, I would have did the same thing, man.
For sure.
Well, I probably wouldn't, because Coach Smith
would have been like,
he made us run. He made us run.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing: with Coach Smith and Coach Williams, you would have had a timeout.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We would have had a timeout because we don't use the shits. Yeah. Tell you that. So college year, you just won a national championship, fresh off a natty. Time to go to the league. How many workouts did you do after that?
Yeah, I think I did 5. Seattle Supersonics, the Pacers, the Lakers. Did I do the Clippers? Maybe the Clippers and Miami Heat.
Always a dream to go to the NBA, even when you were younger?
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought I was going to be a football player. I was a big Bo Jackson fan.
Got you.
I love Randall Cunningham.
You stopped playing football when?
9th grade. 10th grade, going into my 10th grade year.
Got hit too hard?
No, I was just tall and skinny, man. I was like, man, I couldn't pick up no weight.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, football ain't for me,
That'll
man.
do it. That'll do it.
But
5 workouts.
5 workouts.
Best workout was what?
The best or the hardest?
The best. What was one you like? Because there's always a workout.
I think the workout I went with George Carl was probably the best workout. But it was different. I was lucky enough to play as long as I played, and I was able to watch workouts. And then, I had my own sons and training and watching other coaches, over the years with the workouts. When I was coming through, man, we was doing some crazy shit. It had nothing to do with basketball.
What's the crazy shit y'all did?
I think I went to the Pat Riley at Miami.
Yep, sound about right.
And he had us playing. And George Carl had a crazy workout too, because I was kind of a tweener.
Okay.
I didn't have a position. He had me. I'm playing 1-on-1 with point guards, full court.
You're not even a point.
And I'm like,
how's this gonna help me?
And then they had you run these 17s. I'm like, what does 17s got to do with basketball? Especially at NBA level, it's gonna be a whistle every 2 times down the court.
Yeah.
And so they had us running 17s, you know, whether it was cross this way or suicides. And I'm like, and some of the workouts you running lines more than you playing.
Yeah.
You
More
know?
of a conditioning.
Yeah. So I think the Miami was the toughest workout with Pat Riley. It was, but I look back on it, my career, I wish I had played for Pat Riley.
Really?
Because I think I would have been in the best shape. You know, I think I could have played for Bobby Knight. I could have played for Pat Riley, you know, Dean Smith. I think I could have played for Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coaches who had that discipline and that structure. But yeah, that Miami workout was a beast.
You remember your worst workout?
As far as performance-wise?
Yeah.
I think, but I was more of a, I think all my workouts was terrible because I was a structured.
Yeah.
I was a structured
You're a basketball player.
Yeah, I can't play
like one-on-one and all that stuff.
I'm like, man, I don't show well. Yeah.
For sure. But then, draft night, you're a Laker.
Draft night, I'm a Laker. And it's crazy because Coach Smith, you know, he have those meetings where, all right, I'm going to sit you down with 5 agents and 5 financial advisors. You choose one.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have an agent on draft night because I'm thinking that, okay, Coach Smith, you going to tell me who I need to go with?
Really? You had no agent?
I had no agent. I hadn't even chosen an agent yet. And so I get drafted and I didn't have a suit. You. Yeah, I didn't have a suit. So I didn't even, so it's like 3 days before draft night. And they was like, are you going to New York? And I'm like, I ain't got nothing to wear to New York. You know, because back then, they didn't give us suits in college. You know, I mean, we had a sport coat. Coach Smith made us buy a sport coat and tie.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anything.
To go to the green room.
Right. I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. So I'm sitting at home watching the draft with my family. Coach Smith told me, he said, George, you're going to go anywhere from 7 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he told me.
So Coach Smith was your agent?
Basically. Yeah, basically. He said, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go 7 to 15. And then the Lakers picked me at the 12th.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
You a Los Angeles Laker at the 12th pick.
Los Angeles Laker, 12th pick. And
coming from Roanoke, Virginia.
Coming from Roanoke, Virginia. and then you like, North Carolina in college was a big time program, but Chapel Hill had that small town
feel.
It wasn't like you playing in St. John's, New York City.
Exactly.
So I was like, I had never been, we didn't play in LA. We went to Hawaii. Yeah. I had never been to California.
Ooh.
And so, yeah.
And what year was that you went to?
93.
93.
So luckily James Worthy was there. Mm-hmm. So he was like a vet. So and it was the greatest thing being a Carolina player. Any city that you went to, if a Carolina guy played on that team, he said, look, man, if you need anything, you want to go grab something to eat, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And they really, like, when I went to Charlotte, JR was in Charlotte. JR was in San Antonio when we played the Spurs. And he was like, yo, come hang out, you know, come over. You know, his wife cooked for us and all that, man. It was a great feeling to be a rookie in the league, and you had Carolina guys like just about in every city that you went to.
And they looking out.
They looked out.
Yep, that's big time. Yep. That's big time.
Because Worthy was like, look, man, you don't have to buy a car. I'll give you one of my cars to drive. Yeah, so it was love, man. It was love. And I think that's what Coach Smith instilled in those guys coming through, that you look out for each other.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference.
That's why homie got cut.
Yeah, that's why homie got cut. He would have been good.
Yeah.
His roommate. He would have been good, man. Should have never left.
Yeah.
Welcome to NBA moment.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
I don't know if I could say this on the camera.
We'll send it to you, and then if you don't want to do that.
So my first training camp, we on the plane, right? And I'm with the Lakers. And it's me, Nick Van Exel, Eldon Campbell, and a couple of vets like Sam Bowie. Eldon was a vet then.
You played with Sam Bowie?
Yeah, he was with the Lakers.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. This is early 90s, man.
Yeah.
So we on the plane, right? And and I swear, we going to Hawaii, we sitting in first class. And 5 girls get on the plane. Like the prettiest girls, I'm in Chapel Hill. They got pretty girls in Chapel Hill. But these were...
Yeah, you in L.A. now.
Yeah, you're in L.A. I'm flying from L.A. to Hawaii.
Yep.
And we sitting on the plane and, we talking, guys are talking, and these girls sitting right up there with us. And we like, who are these chicks?
Yeah.
Right? So we start talking to them and we start asking them questions. And sorry, Dr. Bus, the late Jerry Bus. We were like, who y'all going to see?
Yeah.
What y'all going to Hawaii for? Just because they were college students. I don't know how old they were, but they were college students. Oh, we going over to see Dr. Bus. It was like 5 girls. And they were gorgeous. And
you fresh out of college.
And I'm fresh out of college in LA, got a little money in my pocket.
Yep.
And we sitting with these girls.
You ain't
and
gonna see Dr. Bus no more.
And man, so that was my first baptism to the NBA.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's a different lifestyle.
Yeah, it was.
Bro, the fact that you went from Chapel Hill to LA, that's a whole 180 of life.
Yes.
How are you handling that?
I moved my cousin out.
Okay. He don't know how to handle it either.
He was living like he was balling.
Yeah.
He was living like he was balling. But I was, and then I kind of had, we had a veteran team, and that's what a lot of these NBA teams don't have. They don't have veterans, because James had just got in trouble with the 2 girls in Houston or whatever it was, that limo whole thing. Magic was, said he had HIV. And so it was a lot of stuff going on. A lot going on in the early 90s. Dr. Dre and Suge Knight shooting up the club. Anytime they came in the club, we left.
Had to go.
Yeah, it was like, man. I mean, they weren't, like, Dre wasn't a superstar then, but you knew, like, everybody, like, that's Suge Knight. We need to go.
Anytime you see Suge, got to get up out of there.
We had to go. So there was things going on in the 90s that, OJ allegedly killed that girl.
Yeah.
So it was things going on in the 90s that kind of, look, LA
was crazy.
LA is crazy. You get caught up.
Yeah.
And we had a veteran group, a great veteran group of guys that made sure that when we did things together. And they took the young fellas, like Sam Bowie was like, don't go that way at certain times of the day. Stay on this side of town. So we had veterans that
knew the ropes.
And it was crazy because you're around all these superstars, Jasmine Guy and Janet Jackson. You see them, but you don't. You see them, but they like everybody's like hanging out together. And you just, it wasn't no it wasn't no P Diddy white party.
No, for sure.
But you just hanging out with people, and then 5-6 years later, they movie stars.
Crazy.
So it was that type of thing going on in LA. It was a good eye-opening experience. But after my 3rd year, I said, if I stay in LA, my NBA career gonna be 5 years.
Damn.
I had to get out of there. I was ready to go.
It was that crazy.
It was that crazy. And then back then we didn't have practice facilities. So you could be in practice and you could leave the gym and you would see girls that were so cute. And we used to practice on Loyola and UCLA's campus.
Oh, okay.
So you would see, there was a lot of distractions. Let me put it that way.
A bunch of distractions.
And you'll leave practice and you'll go to the mall, go to get something to eat, and you'll be like, the weather is great and the women are beautiful and everybody is happy. You weren't thinking about working on your craft, hooping, because you didn't. First of all, you didn't have a practice gym, so if you didn't get it done in practice, you didn't get it done.
Makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, and so it was hard for a young guy to develop, and for me anyway.
Play with Magic Johnson.
Yep.
One of my favorite players ever. How different is he? Like, especially just thinking the game.
Right. So there's different levels to NBA guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got Magic, Michael, Isaiah Thomas, the Hall of Famers, Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins, and then you got another tier of guys under them, and then I was probably down here, on the 13-man roster.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Magic came back, the type of work that he put in, you were like, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you, as a college player, you thinking you play at North Carolina, you play at the highest level, you think you put in the type of work you need to be a pro.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody does that type of work. And then there's another level, like MJ, and then you got talent level, and you got basketball IQ. You throw all that in, that's on another level. And like I play with Allen Iverson later in my career.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even have to practice, and he was still better than everybody in the gym on both teams. You know what I'm saying? And I think Magic was the same way. I think Michael was the same way. But for Michael to be better than everybody in the league, the type of work he put in, it was like you don't think you could take your body to that level.
The torch was passed when to Mike.
Yeah, that might have been before I got in the league.
That had to be way before.
Yeah, it was before. I think it was after his Olympic year. But shit. that torch might have been passed when he stepped in the league.
When he stepped in the league. Because it was crazy because Magic was still doing it at a high level.
Yeah.
Like they were all still playing very good basketball. And it's like now with Bryant, right?
Yeah.
Is it not to pass until he leaves? You know what I'm saying? Like,
being on the team with Magic, because when Magic came back, when he came back after he said he had HIV, we were a good team. We were a playoff team. But Magic Johnson, nobody else could get better. Like Nick Van Exel was on the rise.
True. Yeah.
He couldn't get better because out of respect, they deferred to Magic. And I think that's the same thing. If you ask me about the Laker team, Reeves, the kid from Gonzaga, what's his name?
Rui.
Yeah.
Hachimura, yeah.
They not going to get better until LeBron leaves. Because they always going to defer and they not going to step into their own.
Because you just respect greatness so much.
Yeah. You have to, and I ain't saying LeBron is on the decline because he's still doing it.
Still doing it.
But those guys aren't going to step into their own until they have to.
Yeah. And so you did how many in LA?
I was 3 years in LA.
3 years in LA.
I was traded to Vancouver, to the Grizzlies, 2 years. That was the end of my contract.
Okay. So you did 3 LA, 2 Vancouver, and then Philly?
Philly.
For how many?
So I was in Philly for 3-4 years. But so I went to Philly. It's crazy. So Larry Brown was the coach in Philly. George Karl was the coach in Milwaukee, and I was a free agent. And I was talking to Coach Smith, and he was like, "Oh, they both would love to have you." So we at the Smith Center watching pickup.
Yep.
I wasn't playing. I think I might have been hurt or something. But I'm sitting in the stands watching with Coach Brown. I'm a free agent. It's the lockout year, 99. And I just jokingly tell Coach Brown, I said, "Coach, Allie, his daughter Allie, we had math class together at Carolina. And she would always say, 'Oh, you need to play for my dad. You need to play for my dad.'" And then so me and Coach Brown was sitting in the stands, and I just jokingly say, "Hey, save a spot for me in training camp." I get the call. I go to Philly during the lockout year as a free agent. It was only 50 games. Played for the minimum. And they had Tim Thomas.
Yep.
Tim Thomas was like their first round pick. Was he number 3 or something like that?
I can't remember.
So he had been there a couple of years and it wasn't working out. You playing with AI.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't gonna get the shots. So Coach Brown, very few coaches, Coach Brown had the balls enough to, as me as a free agent making minimum, start me over Tim Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So they trade Tim Thomas. He put me in. So it was me, Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, and Theo Ratliff, and Tyrone Hill playing with AI.
Mm-hmm. How different was AI?
Man, look, what everybody think about him, I played 12 years, and he was the best teammate that I ever played with.
Really?
Yeah. Like, kindness out of his heart, man. He practiced, but he might have practiced at 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was out.
Yeah.
But he practiced. He didn't. The difference between AI, like I said, we got them tiers, and he's way up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else was down here. On that team, we were all down here. He didn't have to practice. Like, we had to practice because we had to know what the scheme was going to be, what we were doing, and all that. So, and then Larry Brown was a splitting image of Roy Williams and Dean Smith.
Yep.
No, teaching. Like,
yeah.
You know how.
For sure.
I mean, people who played at Carolina know it's teaching. You ain't gonna go in there and just hoop.
Yeah.
We teaching. And so Larry Brown was teaching, and he would stop
every play. Mm-hmm.
And AI hated it. He was like, just let us play. Let's go. You can just play, but we can't just play.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was the frustrating part to AI. He just wanted to, he would stay in the gym for 6 hours and hoop if you just let him play.
Yeah.
But Coach Brown was like, stop, we got to do this. George, you messed up this and whatever. Whatever. So, but man, he's
one of those ones that you let him do what he need to do.
Right.
But on game day.
Right. He gonna give you everything. And
he gonna bring it.
And he was, everybody want to be franchise players. He was gonna play 82 games. These franchise players now, they gonna take days off, they're gonna have rest periods and all that. AI wasn't doing that.
He going 82.
He going 82. And
what was your last year at Philly?
After the finals, after the championship. So it was crazy because he either fractured a finger or he broke a finger or something.
Mm-hmm.
He sat out maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And I know he didn't practice. He didn't do no conditioning. He came back, and to take 35, even to take 20 shots in an NBA game is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
He came back, man, and he just like he never missed a beat.
Like he was working out the whole time.
Yeah.
You would have thought he was working out.
Yeah. And, I mean, just didn't want to come out of the game, and it was unbelievable the stamina that he had.
Bro, the way he carried y'all to the final.
Yeah. Yeah.
That 2001 run, though, him and Vince were trading 50 pieces, and then Vince leaves on the PJ, comes back, and you guys win to go to the final.
Yeah, Vince go to the graduation.
I don't know that.
You don't know the story?
Yeah,
they're going 50-50. Like, it's game 1, game 2, Toronto, Philly. And then was it game 6?
Game 7.
Game 7, the night before the game, or the day of the game, he flies to UNC for his graduation on a PJ. Flies back to make it for the game. And they say that's why the Raptors lost, because Vince.
Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
So anyways, talk about that series.
Yeah.
It was a great series, man. Like you said, Vince and AI going at it. Vince at his prime.
He was guarding Vince.
Nah. I would think that was Eric Snow and Aaron McKee matchup. And then, but I broke my foot in the second or the third game. I stepped on Aaron Williams and I had a stress fracture, and it broke. But it went to games. It went down to the wire, man, and he missed the shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been game 6 because it was at Toronto. So it was the series was 4. 3-2.
3-2 at that point.
Yeah, it was game
And y'all
6.
won in 6?
Yeah, we won in 6.
Hey, bro. What was your thought process when you stepped over T. Lou?
Oh.
That was the ultimate disrespect.
But he was doing...
Y'all won game 1.
Yeah, we took game 1.
Did y'all think y'all could really win that series?
I think if we was healthy, because the Lakers had a lot of stuff going on between Kobe and Shaq,
Mm-hmm.
they had a lot of issues going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we would have won that series. But AI was doing stuff like that. It wasn't... Everybody else got excited about it, but we saw it all the time.
Yes. This was the norm.
Yeah, it was the norm. And that whole playoff series, he was on fire.
You played with... Were you there at the time when he did his mama was doing his hair on the sideline?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
was getting his braids done.
Man, all the time, man. She would come over and, oh, your hair coming to loose. Let me fix it. And it's crazy because you think about these franchise players that got power. Like when Magic came back, so I played 2 years with the Lakers without Magic.
Okay.
The day that Magic came back, the food that we ate was better. The hotels that we stayed in was better. The airplane that we flew on was better.
Yep.
It was crazy.
It's crazy.
You think that these franchise players, they do have power.
They got power.
And they got say on
a lot
of things in decision making.
Because they put money in their pocket too.
Oh yeah.
And that's what it really come down to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna take care of your Lamborghini.
Yeah.
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? You're gonna take care of that.
You're gonna put the good oil in.
Yeah, we're gonna put the good oil in that, the good gas. We ain't putting regular gas, we're gonna put the premium.
Yeah.
So that finals though, you had a stress fracture, but you came back and played.
I tried to play in the finals.
You were playing behind Dikembe, or
No. So I was in the starting lineup. I was the 3-man. Aaron McKee came off the bench.
Yeah.
So, but when I came back in the playoffs, I came off the bench because I thought I could play, but the screw that they put in my foot was too small, and it was bending when I was trying to play on it.
Mm-hmm.
If they had to put a bigger screw in from the first surgery, I think I would have made it back for the final.
It's so crazy, bro, that he said that. That's exactly what happened to me. I got 3 surgeries on this one.
Mm-hmm.
No, 2. 2 or 3. One of them. My first screw was too little.
Yeah.
And just exactly what you said. You could feel it. I was like, bro, why am I they're like, you're not supposed to feel it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling it. So what the hell going on?
Yeah.
And then once they put the longer screw in there, I was fine.
Yeah.
And then, bro, that's insane. The fact that you just said that. But you get done and y'all, that Laker team was nice though.
Yeah.
But y'all did have Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think because of the stuff that was going on, we would have beat them in the finals that year.
Y'all were connected too.
Huh?
Y'all were connected.
Yeah, we were good. Like
y'all had a really good group.
Like nothing against
everyone knew their roles too.
Yeah, nothing against Rick, Fox, and Horry, but I'd have put handcuffs on them.
For sure.
No, I'm serious, man. Because I think I was at my prime. They were on their way down.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI and Kobe would have balanced.
Yeah.
Shaq, he did his thing against Mutombo, but Aaron McKee, I think Aaron McKee would have been the difference maker.
Yeah. Shaq was a monster, though. I mean, what do you do with that?
Nothing. Nothing. I mean, the stuff that Shaq was doing, man, and Shaq was so big, other than Yao Ming.
Mm-hmm.
If Shaq really wanted to hurt somebody when he was playing,
he could.
He
every single night.
Every night. He was, and at that time, like Sabonis was the other, Arvydas Sabonis was the only other center in the league that was big.
Mm-hmm.
He was on his way out. But it was Shaq and Yao Ming, and then David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was on, and
Mm-hmm. Nothing nobody could do.
Nothing like Shaq, though.
Most dominant ever.
Well, during my time, he was probably the most dominant center when he wanted to be.
That makes sense. Shaq could chill sometimes.
Yeah.
That's so scary about it. Was there anything else you wanted
to say? Just how good was that young Kobe? Like,
Yeah,
Because then you still played, obviously, after that, Charlotte, Newark.
Yeah,
So, like, you saw Kobe also mature.
So I think my first few years with Kobe, I think he was still maturing and he was good. He had all the right, he had the mindset, but he still needed he needed to get stronger. He needs to work on his body. But you can see it. Like, for a young guy to stay focused. And remember, I lived in LA.
Yeah.
So with all the distractions and everything going on, for him to stay locked in.
You knew he was different.
Yeah, he was different.
And the fact that he stayed there his whole career and stayed, and you could tell the drive he had.
Yeah.
What's it? I mean, you didn't see 24 Kobe.
Mm.
You saw 8
that was
Kobe,
24
right?
was after Denver.
24 was after like 20. You only saw 8.
No. Because I was with the Hornets. I was with the Hornets. When did he switch his number?
Your last year was what?
05.
05. Yeah, he didn't switch it till.
He just switched to like 10 or
10.
something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that Kobe.
Young Kobe was. What did you think he was? He was chasing greatness from the moment he got into the league, right? What was the separating thing from him and everybody else, in your opinion? Did you know he was going to be what he is?
I think the separating factor was that he was able to stay focused. Like I said, when you get to that level, a lot of guys have the same abilities and the same. They just different. I mean, they can wake up and still give you 30.
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys, but I think he just needed to. I think in those later years, after everything he went through, he was probably more dialed in.
Yeah. Especially you get a taste of championships and stuff like that. You just want more.
Yeah.
More and more.
Yep.
No, I feel that. Because after Philly, you went where?
I went to the Hornets.
To the Hornets. Man. They weren't the Bobcats, damn word.
No, they were the Hornets. So I was there that first year. The last year they were in Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
And then when we went to New Orleans.
Yep.
And then when Katrina hit, they went to Oklahoma,
Katrina
but I didn't go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you were their rookie CP?
Who?
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul.
Yeah. No. So that year I had plantar fasciitis and I was like, I'm done.
Called it.
Yeah, I called it. Because they went to Oklahoma. You know, when you get older, man, Byron Scott came in and I was like, man.
They're doing all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Byron's crazy.
Yeah, Byron was making us run. I was like, yo, I'm 34, 35. My body ain't going to recover, man. You want us to run in practice or you want us to run in the game?
Hey, listen, now you sound like AI.
Yeah. No, but it was true. At that point, because you go through stages where you're trying to learn how to be a pro.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I knew what it took for my body to be ready to play.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
You figured
but
it out.
I knew I couldn't run like a 18, 19-year-old in practice and then
you want
recover
me to perform
for
in
the game.
Yeah, for sure. We got to talk about it, though. Let's talk about the current state of Carolina basketball. Let's talk about what you feel like and needs to be better and how we can improve on the future, because the future is now and there's some changes that needs to be made as far as, and I'm not talking about coaching or any of that. I'm just talking about in the way the landscape of college basketball is.
I think it's a little bit of everything. There's a recipe. I think now the way these kids practice and prepare, there's got to be player development. And when I say player development, instead of having the practices like me and you went through at Carolina, for these young guys, you got to have practices where you compartmentalize the situations. Like you watch Carolina now, they're doing a lot of pick and roll. But they don't look like they know what they're supposed to do in a pick and roll situation. Like the bigs will set a screen and won't roll to the rim hard. The guards will come off the pick and roll, and the way the officials call it, they not downhill. I watched Elliott doing his summer workouts, and none of them were game shots.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get in the game, you can't make a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was me, you throw out the old way we used to practice. You have some of that in, but you have to do more player development. I went to a couple practices, and I usually get there like an hour before, at least 30 minutes before practice, and no one's on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys aren't putting in the time, whether it's the coaches making them. You can't make these kids do anything nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
So
because you don't want to step on toes, and they want to transfer and all that other shit.
So you got to recruit gym rats.
Yeah.
And then when I look at our team and I look at all the rest of the teams, everybody recruit NBA bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Or whether they long. Like if me and you played at Carolina today, we'd be a 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 6'8", 6'7", 1 and 2 guards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your 3s and 4s are down there 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And we're not recruiting that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wouldn't say we're not recruiting it. We're not landing them.
Mm-hmm.
I think to go back to what we talked about earlier, I think it's time for a new arena.
Mm-hmm.
You put the students, you make it more of a student body atmosphere. And then you got to give Hubert the tools so he can go buy players.
Mm-hmm.
Because these kids, when we went to Carolina, I went to Carolina because I wanted to play for Dean Smith.
Not like that no more.
These kids don't care who Hubert David is. And they don't care what that Carolina blue. It's not like the powder blue when I was coming through. That was the first thing I saw when I walked in the Smith Center.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids today, they
just don't care.
Yeah. They got other things. They doing
commercials,
likes and yeah. And they got money. I mean, I'm like, all y'all should have a car, so why aren't y'all here an hour before practice? You're only practicing an hour and a half.
In my opinion, like this is how I would do it. Especially now, I'm paying you, I'm gonna treat you like a pro.
Exactly.
Right? So our practices will be, you know how everybody gets like, now everyone does vitamins. Vitamins are like your personal workout.
Uh-huh.
You got your own personal workout. That's probably an hour or 2 hours before practice even start.
Right.
And then we just going over what we need to, how we need to get better. Maybe it's a scout report, boom, boom, boom. But you're going to have your vitamin work on how you getting better.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know for warm-ups, in the league, you are literally working on the shots you are going to take in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say that, that's the issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm going to practice every single shot I know I'm going to get in a game. Because when I get in a game, then I'm like, oh, I just did this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, then it's just repetition. But I think the biggest thing in my eyes, and I like that we're having this conversation, because the biggest thing in my eyes is we got to be okay with change.
Oh, yeah.
Change is here.
And when you say we, former players,
yep,
the people who host the seats in the arena, got the, grandfathered in seats.
Mm-hmm.
We got to change all that.
We got to change it. And if you say you really want us to stay at the top and be where we want to be, these things have to be it. Because kids want that atmosphere. Kids want to play and stuff like that. Kids want to be paid.
Yeah.
Kids, listen, I'm going to say this. These kids want to come to Carolina. But if we don't do these things,
they're not coming.
Well, I'll just go somewhere else.
And they want to be coached. I mean, you got to know how to talk to these kids.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be coached.
Some of them.
I think all of them want to be coached, man. I watched Larry Brown. I worked for Larry Brown when we was at SMU. He took non-McDonald's All-Americans, non-3 stars, and got them drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, like you said, it was the vitamins. It was not a day that...
But that's the type of players, though.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to recruit gym rats.
You got to get some dogs.
Yeah.
We got to get some dogs.
And they can't be thin-skinned. Because that's, when you go to Carolina, whether it's back in the 90s when I went, 2000s when you went, and now, the expectations is still the same.
It's the same.
Like when I look at these teams and we losing 7 games, I'm like, I'm disappointed.
They don't, and that's the thing. People don't understand when we you would think we playing.
Yeah.
How we feel when we lose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, come on, bro, how do we fix this? And we not nowhere near the program. You know what I'm saying? Like, we care about it and we still talk to them all, but like, it's a wild time right now where we just got to adapt. We have to adapt because if we don't, we're going to get left behind.
Exactly.
But that's where it comes to the point where we talked about before. We have to make that difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And make sure everyone knows, like, it's a collective group. It's going to take everybody. New arena, new landscape of the arena. We need more money.
Yeah.
Because the number one kid in the country is going to BYU.
And I think we can't, you know, as former players, I'm too old to go back now, but I think guys have to go back and help. We can't sit on the sideline and complain about it, because when we were coming through, the OGs came through and helped us. It wasn't just Coach Smith wasn't getting out there doing no vitamins.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but we got to allow the OGs to come back and have a helping hand in the development. And they got to want to do it.
1,000%. 1,000%. I think that's a great way to end this jump. This was a great pod. I appreciate the love.
Yes, sir, man. And, anytime.
Listen, we got the great George Lynch on here, man. That's another episode. Run Your Race with your boy Theo Pinson. We appreciate the love, DraftKings. We appreciate the love also. And we out. Peace.